Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. The human expansion into the Pleiades Nebula continues. After a successful community goal to get a space station out this way, a second community goal has been successfully completed to allow for the construction of a planetary outpost out here. This is in the Maya system on a planet right next door to Obsidian Orbital, and it's got all manner of landing pads down here, right up to the large size, allowing for all the ships to come down here. Now, one thing that this outpost has got that was missing from the space station is an outfitting screen. We still need to get a shipyard down here, but other than that, we've pretty much got everything we could possibly want. Now, the outfitting menu does have modules for every single feature you need for your ship. Although it doesn't come with all classes and all sizes just yet, it does have a wider selection, let's put it that way. Looking at my ASP here on the Class 2 weapon mounts, I could find just about every weapon I actually wanted. I think it was actually missing some pulse gimbaled lasers, but that was about the only thing it was missing, and that went right down to just about every weapon, also for the Class 1 mounts. Now, I don't know what's here for Class 3 mounts. There might well be nothing, but judging by the fact that it's got pretty much everything else here, there's a good chance it's probably got some weapons for those mounts as well. And as you can see here, every module is accounted for, including the planetary vehicle hangars, which at times can be very difficult to find. The only downside is that there's not every class size available, so if you're out here with a smaller ship, you're certainly going to be well off. It's just a case that, as I mentioned earlier, we could really do with a shipyard out here, so we could come out here with a long-range ship and then buy a short-range ship when we're out here. That would be quite a nice feature. Maybe something for the future then. At any rate, with a colony now firmly established within the Pleiades Nebula, I thought, well, there's a lot of other nebulas nearby, and I can see at this point human interest may well soon turn in this direction. This here is the Witchhead Nebula, right en route to Barnard's Loop. I thought it'd be quite nice to take a little tour around this area. This region could well be a popular area of space in the future. There's some rumours that the aliens may well be residing within Barnard's Loop. Some of that just due to the marking that's been found on the barnacles, although a lot of other people say that it's not Barnard's Loop at all, but I guess that's something we'll have to see about what happens in future. But in either event, whatever the case may be, the whole region out here, especially with Barnard's Loop, is exceptionally well constructed. You can see Frontier have put a lot of time and effort into this region of space, and I can't imagine that it will go unused. Very few other nebula are handcrafted within this game, and none of them are handcrafted to the extent of Barnard's Loop and the surrounding nebula. It's an absolutely gorgeous region out here, and surely if humans don't take up residence here, then someone else will. One way or another, it will serve, hopefully, as a very nice backdrop to future gameplay. I'm not sure how many players overall from Elite actually venture out toward the nebula. I'm not sure how many come out this way to Barnard's Loop even though it's not all that far away. But certainly they're missing out in terms of the visuals that the game has to offer. As I moved out of the Witchhead Nebula and came ever closer to Barnard's Loop, I spent a bit of time in the Orion's Arm section of space, where I come across a fantastic combination of planets. Two moons here orbiting extremely close together, right next door to this gas giant surrounded by a very impressive nebula. These are the sort of locations you don't even see in the promotional material for the game, which perhaps is a little bit strange, but I suspect this all is reserved for the future. I did go down and land on this planet and spent quite a while driving around. It's a very interesting location in VR. Looking up at these other planets and moons surrounding you is just quite a treat indeed. And I'll put the coordinates for this moon in the video description because I think it's something that a lot of you might like to come out and actually see for yourselves. With the brief tour of Barnard's Loop completed, I turned my attention to one of the recent community goals. This one, I believe, has only just started, and it's a hunt for the wreckage for Starship One. Now, Starship One was a presidential ship that disappeared in 3301 last year. In terms of the in-game story, no one really knew exactly why the ship disappeared or what happened to it even. And there was quite a lot of rumours and suspicion that President Hudson might well be behind the disappearance of the previous president. However, it is President Zachary Hudson himself that has initiated this community goal and drive to find the wreckage, so it would seem unlikely that he would perhaps be behind it. Another suggestion was that it could well be Thargoids or an alien presence behind the disappearance of the president. Something that seems perhaps a bit far-fetched. There wasn't really much in the way of the game or backstory going on in relation to that back then, but who knows? There were, though, some suggestions that her ship may well have been carrying an unknown artifact, and if so, it would perhaps be more than a coincidence that this community goal has come about at the same time as all the other news about alien technology. Anyway, the focus of this community goal is to find wreckage components. So I went out into one of the listed systems, in this case it was Niju, to have a look for some shipwrecks or salvageable wrecks, and flying around in space waiting for them to spawn, all I kept coming across was occupied escape pods. One of them right there I managed to destroy by flying into it, but I guess not to worry, I wasn't going to collect it anyway, although that's not much help for the person who was ever inside it, I guess. But it turns out that I needn't be looking for these random spawns, because the wrecks in question are actually persistent wrecks, and this one is located here right next door to this planet, and when you jump in you'll find that there's a whole bunch of rescue ships already present there. 4 in fact in this particular case, and all of them are trying to collect the salvageable wreckage components. So you have to be very, very quick off the mark, because invariably they will beat you to it and end up taking all the components for themselves. That's exactly what happened here. I was a bit too slow flying into the wreckage. They collected every single piece and then just disappeared. Now, one, I don't know if it's an advantage really, but let's just say potentially positive outcome is that if you leave this instance and then jump back into it, then all the components as well as the rescue ships will spawn in again. And it seems that this will happen as many times as you want it to, as many times as you just leave and enter. It'll just keep respawning. So on the second attempt I tried to fly in a little bit faster, took a little bit of a pot shot at one of the rescue ships to see if perhaps they'd divert their attention away from the canisters, but they didn't take any notice of me and still kept focusing on the canisters. So I just simply tried to fly to one of these as fast as I could without actually being so fast that I'd destroy the canister. The idea here is to slow down at the last moment, just like here, so that I'm not going to be impacting the canister too hard. But of course, you've got to keep the canister right on target in the centre of the scoop reticule there, so that it doesn't go bouncing around your ship, or that you end up destroying it. But for some reason, that canister ended up being destroyed anyway. As far as I could tell, I was still flying within the speed limit for scooping, but, well, it was gone now. And when I looked around, all the other ones had already been scooped up by the other rescue ships here. So it was time to leave this wreck and try a third time. Hopefully, third time was the charm. This time I still come in a little bit fast, but I managed to slow down a little bit earlier, and looking around, hoping that another rescue ship wouldn't scoop this at the last second, I managed to collect my first wreckage component. Now, I of course wanted to get as many of these as I could, so once I'd scooped this one here, I turned my attention to see what other wreckage components were available, and, well, there's another 3 here, but I'm not sure if one just popped there, because I certainly crashed into something. At any rate, I spent the next few minutes trying to manoeuvre my ship here so that I could scoop the canisters. Now, I don't usually have any problem scooping. I can do that very, very fast when needed, but I was trying to avoid the Rescue 1 ships here. I didn't want to go careening into them at too high impact. And you can see that they are trying to do exactly the same thing that I'm trying to do here, and I did miss it there, but I do get it on the second pass. Now, the community goal that I chose here is from an independent faction. They want to have an independent investigation into what went on with this shipwreck. There is another community goal, that one from the Federation, the one initiated by President Hudson, and you can also go and do that one, I guess, in addition to the independent one as well. Now, on this particular community goal, the independent one, the canisters do come up as stolen, so when you return to the station you have to actually sell them on the black market. I'm not sure how that will work out on the federal community goal, I imagine it will probably be the same, but it would make sense if they're actually not stolen because you're working on the behalf of the official investigation. So just so that you're aware, it's something that's worth keeping an eye on when you return to the station, because if you get scanned you could well be carrying illegal goods. Heading back to the station then, it was time to hand in my rather measly 2 tons of wreckage components. Now, there's no reason that you can't hang around in any one of those wrecks. There's quite a few systems that you can actually go between and collect as much of it as you possibly can. You can see here that they don't sell for much at all, but the more of it you collect, the higher up the tier on the community goal you would get, meaning that potentially you could get a significantly larger reward for the more you collect. Now, I'm going to try and go get a bit more of this, but I've also got to be at the Distant Worlds expedition tonight at 7 PM in game time to meet up with everyone at Waypoint 5. But whatever happens with this community goal, the outcome should be quite interesting, because obviously it's based on one of the most significant story events from last year. If it turns out to be sabotage that destroyed this ship, or indeed that the ship was perhaps attacked by some type of external force, the repercussions could be quite significant. And if so, it would be very nice to see that affect the game overall in some way. For now though, that brings me to the end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Path to Pleiades. We now have another community goal to construct another base within the Pleiades Nebula. This one is for a planetary settlement and it's situated in the same system as the new space station Obsidian Orbital.